that again. Hi there everyone, it's Kevin Esty. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, and this is the Gentleman Crafters Design Inspiration blog hop for August. And just having some fun in the studio this morning, and we've got the new mini catalog launch along with celebration going on, and that means lots of free bonus products and whatnot. And I'm actually going to be playing with one of the stamp sets that is in celebration, the Counting Sheep. I love the little sheep. You know me, I love little creatures, and so we're going to make a fun little card with the sheep today. And I'm using some designer series paper from a fantastic free package of paper that you can get for free. This is a huge block of 48 sheets of paper. So there's 4 of every design in it. One side of all the paper is black and white patterns, and there's ginghams, there's lines, there's dots, there's stripes, there's all kinds of fun patterns in the black and white. And then the other side is all these beautiful bright patterns of flowers and stripes and hearts and you name it. There's florals, there's everything. I'm going to show you where you can get this for free with your rewards. So in the annual catalog at the back, these are in all our catalogs, at the back there are always the hostess or host rewards. Okay, so when you do a party or you have an event or you do a workshop order and your customers order, you reward your host or your hostess of the party with rewards. Well, you also get rewards to spend on all of your demonstrator orders, or if you're a customer, if you do an order of $200 or more, you get rewards to spend. And this package of paper can be purchased with the rewards in Canada for just $24. So if you have $24 in rewards to spend on an order, you can get this package of paper with those rewards. It's got a value of over 40 bucks on it. It's just fabulous. So anyway, I'm going to play with some free stuff today. So I have pulled from that package this really fun striped pattern, and I love a diagonal stripe instead of just horizontal or vertical stripes. The diagonal is really, really fun. I have a card base of thick white, and that is 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. So a standard card base, and we're just going to fold that, and we're going to have that as our matte layer on the card. Okay, we'll get to that later. Then I'm actually going to bring in a Stampin' Pierce mat here, so we've got some contrast so you can see these white layers that I've got. So I've got another piece of the thick white, and that measures 2 inches by 9 inches, and we're going to do some scoring on that. Okay, then in Coastal Cabana I have a little piece that's 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. I've got 4 2-inch squares, so they're 2 by 2. And then I have 4 little matte layers that are going to go on there that are just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So they're 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. Okay. And what we're going to make is a waterfall card. These were all the rage a while back, and they're a fun interactive card. I have seen them pop up again in a few places. They always work well with a stamp set that has 3 or 4 little common images on it. So this was one I did, oh gosh, I believe it was a year ago when we had celebration. So it'd be 2020's celebration. And this was a nice little stamp set that had lots of floral images and nice little sentiments in it. And you pull on the tab and it waterfalls over, and each of the little segments flips over as you go. Okay, so you can put a long, multiple sort of a story message on there as you go. Okay, and so we're going to, and then of course you can still make it a regular opening card. So we're going to duplicate this. I'm just going to set that up there, keep it so I know what I'm doing. So first let's do some stamping. So I'm going to grab my 4 little squares of white, and we're going to get out our sheep. Now I don't need the Stamp and Pierce mat for this because this is a red rubber stamp set. I just hope that the contrast will be good enough here for you to see what's going on. But I do want a piece of scrap paper. I don't want to stamp on my blotter here. I'm going to go right off the edges of the squares with the sheep. And I want to block. So I'm going to do each of the sheep. So I'm just going to line these up. I'm going to use some Memento ink. And my sheep are just going to be coming in off the edges because they're not going to fit on these little 2x2 blocks. So I'm just going to fit as much of them as I can and make them as animated as I can. So they're coming in from an angle. Okay. So that's that one. Let's do this one. He doesn't have a real happy face on him. He's not jumping. He's just kind of there, but he's still cute. So we'll see if we can give him a bit of movement or something. There we go. Okay, so we got those two. And then this guy, he's the dancer in the party. I'm going to do two of him. Oh, there we go. And maybe I'll do one on a different angle. He's going to be, I don't know, doing a handstand is what he's doing. There we go. Ha! Oh, I missed the bottom of his body. Oh, well, that's why we have a backside to our paper. Okay, let's do that again. Get him on there. There, he's doing a handstand. Okay. And I'll figure out what I'm going to do for sentiments and whatnot after. Now we're going to do some coloring. So I'm going to bring in my bucket of blends. And I know I want gray for the little hoofies. So I've got a gray granite. A light gray granite is good. And I'm going to pull in some pink. I got a petal pink, a light petal pink. You could also use... I was going to say Flirty Flamingo, but I think that would make them too pink. So I'm going to do all their little hoofs in gray. And I am not coloring for the sake of, trying to blend and make this perfection. You can, if you want to. I would if I was going to color their bodies in. So if I wanted to make gray sheep, I would use the light and the dark, and I would use a little bit of blending technique on them to make them look a little more realistic. But this is just tiny little hoofs, and we're going to do their little faces. Not really enough there to color to do much blending. Okay, now we're going to do their little ears and their faces and their legs. Like I say, you could color your sheep gray if you wanted to. I'm just going to steer clear of his eye so that he ends up with a white eye. There we go. And this little guy here, same thing. We'll steer clear of his eyes so they stay white. These are very easy to color. Give him some pink ears. Okay, I love this guy. He's got his eyes closed and he's just dancing away. The life of the party. Or he could be looking and saying, "I'm so beautiful, look at me." This one's doing a handstand. All right. Almost done. A couple more legs here. Some ears. Oh, missed this guy's ear here. There we are. All right, so we got our sheep. Now, because I flipped that piece over, when you cut on your trimmer, it usually leaves a little burr on the edge. You can tell which side's supposed to be the upside and the downside. So I'm just going to run my bone folder over the very edges of it here. It just takes that little divot out of it from where your cutter blade pushes it down into the track. Okay, so there, I got my sheep. Done with that. I'm going to get my 4 little squares here, and we're going to glue these on. And they're just 1/8 of an inch smaller in size, so we get a nice, oh, I missed entirely. We get a nice little 1/16 inch border around the edges. This is why I prefer liquid glue. However, I am out of liquid glue and I am waiting for my order to arrive. So I'm back to using up what's left of my snail. I still have 2 more snails in the drawer. Anybody listening who isn't a crafter who doesn't know what I'm talking about, snail is the tape runner adhesive. I do not keep snails in my drawers. And then when that's gone, I'm on to the new seal that we have. So then I'll have seals in my drawers. Sheep on my desk, seals in my drawers. Who knew there was a zoo involved in stamping? Okay. All right. While we're on the gluing, we may as well adhere this piece of designer series paper to the front, and I should burnish my fold really well here before I do that. And this piece of designer paper was cut 4 by 5 1/4 to give me a 1/8 inch mat all the way around the front of my card. There we go. All right. Now, the mechanism for this card is this 2" by 9" piece of thick cardstock. You can use any of the regular colors of cardstock, but after you do this a few times, it starts to, and especially when you get to the last one and you have to push it back in, it can be a little wonky just to get it going, and you can end up buckling it if you're not careful. So the thicker paper is better. If you were going to use just regular cardstock, I'd almost double it up, I think, is what I would do, and it'll last longer. Okay, so we need to do some scoring. I have actually already scored this, but here's how it works. You go from one end and you score at 2 inches, and then you need 1, 2, 3 more scores that are 3/4 of an inch along. So you're going to do it 2, 2 3/4. I have to put this down on my grid paper to make sure I do this right. 2, 2 3/4, 3 1/2, 4 1/4. Okay, and then the other end is where you punch with a tag topper punch, if you have one of the tag topper punches. My tag topper punch happens to be with my sister right now, so I'm going to use my trio punch, and I'm going to punch the tag hole in the end, and I'm going to use the corner rounder to round the corners, and we'll see if I can put the little I don't know what you call them. I guess they're flower petals in the corners too. So I'm going to start with the hole in the end, because I want to get this to go in as flat and straight as possible before I round the corners on it. So we'll do the ribbon hole. Well, that worked out good. There we are. Okay, and then I'm going to round the two corners. One there. One there. Yeah, and I think we can get the flowery things on without disturbing my ribbon hole. Yes, there we go. Okay, and that'll make it just as pretty as the tag topper punch. All right. Get all the little bits out of the way here. I'll bring this back in so we've got some contrast so you can see what we've got here. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do is fold and crease all of these folds that I've done here. So I'll just give them all a little fold here first, and then I'm going to bring in my bone folder and just give each one of them a nice little crease like that. All right, and I'm going to start with it in this position where the last fold is folded down. Okay, and that's going to be in like this position. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to figure, I guess it really doesn't matter, but the order of my sheep. And I think I want to separate these two so that they're not right together. So I'll probably do maybe like that. Okay, so this one's going to go on the top. So I'm going to put adhesive on just probably the safest way to do it is to put adhesive on the actual section that is scored on the mechanism. And I think I am going to use some tear and tape for this because I want it to stay. It's got to be fairly strong. So I think I'm going to put on 2 little pieces of tear and tape on each one of these segments. I may as well do them now while I'm here, as opposed to getting the tear and tape out again and again. Okay, 1, 2. Three. So there's 3 little 3/4 inch segments there. I just want to check make sure that, yeah, and the last one, it goes right on the square. So I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom. Okay. Now we'll just rub those all down nice. All right. My pick tool, so I'm going to take the top 2 release papers off, and I'm going to line my first square up at the top edge. There we go. So there's our first one, and then he's going to go up and over like that. Do the next one. And I'm just being careful here not to go beyond the edge of the fold, and I'm using my fingers on the side here to hug the little 2-inch strip underneath. That way I'm keeping it square before I tack it down, but I'm not going beyond the edge of the fold, because if I go beyond the edge of the fold, then it's going to jam up on the one up above it when it's got to flip over. So I can just see just a tiny little hair of white there. And that way when this one comes down, it doesn't jam up on that one. Okay, so then we'll do the next one. I'll do exactly the same thing here. Use my fingers to square it up. And then when I'm ready to push down, I want just a tiny little bit of white showing. There we go. And then we do our last one. There we go. Okay, now the last little bit of this mechanism is to glue this whole thing onto this little strip. Okay, and we're going to take the bottom of our final square and we're going to stick that on in the middle there. So again, I'm going to use some tear and tape on the back of this. And I'm just going to put this next to it to make sure that I don't put my tear and tape too low. There we go. Rub it down. And then I want it in the middle, or as close to the middle as I can get. Right there like that. Perfect. All right. Then we want to put some tear and tape on here and on here. I'm actually going to get my little snips. I want to do this nice and straight and even. And I'm going to stay about 1/4 of an inch away from my white piece, because this is where the mechanism is going to slide, is underneath of here, and I don't want to glue it down so tight that it's hard to pull this. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of room. Okay, and I'm going to put, might even put a third strip in there, because I want this to really be stuck well. So there, we'll do 3 little strips. Do the same on this side. Okay, burnish those all down well. Okay. Then get rid of all these little release papers. They can all go. And then we bring in our card, make sure we got the right way opening. And then I'm just going to put him so that I've got about 1/4 of an inch of space here and 1/4 of an inch space there. I'm actually going to turn it sideways so I can see it a little better. Line that end up. I'm holding this end up away from the paper before I stick it down. I can slide back and forth a little here. I can arrange it so that it looks straight. And then when I'm ready, push down there and push down there. Okay, so those are the only 2 points on the card that this mechanism is all held to the card. Everything else moves freely. And when you pull on the tab, the little sheet flip over. Isn't that fantastic? And I tell you, having the thick white makes a big difference. It's a little smoother and it goes back in a little better. Okay, now on this card, where I had used a lot of floral in the background, I was able to layer my sentiments over top. I think on this one, what I'm actually going to do is maybe stamp my sentiments here, okay, on the little top panels of the card. And probably should have done that before I assembled it all together, but I think if I'm careful, I should be able to get these nice and flat on the card here and get my block in to stamp. I may even cut some little white panels to put in there and just stamp on the white and then glue them on. I think that would work too. Okay, this stamp set does not have a lot of sentiments with it. You've got "You're amazing" and "So glad it's your birthday." And I'm not sure what this card is going to be for yet. So I'm going to just leave the sentiments for another day until I decide who's going to get it. But we have lots of stamp sets in our collections that have, 4 or 5 different sentiments in them that would be good for this. Anyway, I think that's fun. Now we just need a piece of ribbon to tie onto our tag here. Let me just grab. Sorry, didn't mean to be gone so long there, but I had to go over to my ribbon rack. I've got this fun yellow, I think this was a pineapple ribbon that was from our last, no, it was an in color a while back, and I've never really used it for much, and I think it goes well with this bright color concept. I'm trying to remember how to do this. You make a loop. You push the loop up through the hole. Yes, there we go. You make a loop, you push the loop up through the hole. You bring your tails around and you poke them through the loop. There we go. And I get my loop turned around the right way here. And pull these tails. There we have it. Oh yes, and you can put a sentiment on the inside of your tag area here that's totally hidden until they pull it all the way out, and that's where you can write your, your message to whoever you're giving the card to. Okay, so I just have to finish dressing it up with a little bit of bling, some rhinestones, and figure out what sentiments I'm going to put on it, and we have a finished card. So all the measurements and everything are here in the blog post. If you've seen anything shown here today that you would like, all these products are available through my online store. You can go to my website at StampingJustForFun.CA, and there's links there over to the store. Remember that the sheep stamp set is a celebration item, so that means that if you place a $60 product order with me through Stampin' Up, you can choose this as a free item. So you get a free celebration item for each $60 that you spend. And if you do a big enough order, $200 or more, that you get some rewards to spend, you can use those rewards to get this huge package of paper. And so, yeah, who doesn't like free stuff? So thanks for joining me for the Gentleman Crafters August blog design hop. There are other gentlemen in the group here, and if you go just down below the video and down below the measurements for the card that I've shown you today, you'll find all the links to the other guys all over the world, and make sure that you check out their blogs as well. Until next month, we will see you later.